What's up guys? So I'm just going to comment on this set I did, and I want to share some thoughts regarding my general training philosophy. So a lot of you guys have me seen train a lot of kettlebell sport, but I don't really care so much about kettlebell sport, and that may sound paradoxical, but it's going to make sense in a second. So I've always had this idea in mind of becoming a hybrid athlete, even before the term became such a buzzword. And what I mean by hybrid athlete is simply someone who is very well-rounded and not really trying to excel in one particular sport, but just be well prepared for anything really. So think of the type of person you would like to have on your team during a zombie invasion, right? Someone who has strength, work capacity, endurance. You get the picture. And that's why I started incorporating kettlebell sport into my training, because it just forces you to be well-rounded. It just develops a very useful type of strength and conditioning. So in a way you could say my philosophy is very similar to the hardstyle kettlebell practitioners, right? They say they train for GPP, for general physical preparation. And I would say I have the same goal. So why train sport then, right? That's a big question. And I think a great analogy would be martial arts, right? You have certain kinds of martial arts who claim to train for the streets or self-defense. And as a general rule, those martial arts don't tend to be very effective, because they just theorize a lot, but they don't really do any hard sparring. They don't do any strength and conditioning, and are generally a laughingstock in the martial arts community. And I think that's unfortunately what a lot of hardstyle practitioners are becoming, right? On the contrary, you have, for example, MMA fighters, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, and those are all sports, but everybody who knows their stuff knows that those sports tend to produce people that are much more capable of defending themselves in a real life situation. And there's a saying I've heard that goes like this: think street, train sport, practice art. Okay, that sounds nice, but of course the idea of it is it's better to practice the sport, because that's going to develop all the attributes. You're going to be able to perform under pressure, and because of the constant competitive aspect, you're going to be forced to develop your skills to a much greater extent. And if you want to prepare, for example, for self-defense, you have the think street aspect. So you have that in the back of your mind. Like, obviously there are certain aspects that get left out during sport training, but on the other hand, that doesn't really invalidate the fact that the sports still produce the most effective fighters, okay? And those attributes you can then take and apply in any context. And I think it's the same for kettlebell sport, because of the selective pressure due to competition, right? Because people want to win, and whenever you have a competition at something, there's a selective pressure, and the most effective training methods are going to survive. Just like in martial arts, the most effective techniques are going to survive. And that's going to produce maybe some shortcuts. For example, some sport-specific techniques that are not entirely relevant to like a GPP application, or in a martial arts context, a self-defense application. But as a whole, the fact that you have competition, that you have measurable goals, that you have this pressure, that you're constantly pressure testing your theories and your methods, produces much better results. And that's why I compete in kettlebell sports competitions, okay? Because even though I don't care for competition accolades per se, but it's just something that gives me like an arena to test my training methods. It gives me a goal, it gives my training direction, and it just helps keep myself accountable. But what I'm really after are improvements in my overall strength and conditioning. And for that I use the kettlebell lifts as measuring sticks, but they are not my only measuring sticks. But I'm also interested in how many push-ups can I do, how much can I deadlift, how fast can I run, and all the other different benchmarks and standards that we so commonly see. And even at the age of almost 33, I expect to see an upwards trend in all of those. And now that I'm in my 30s, those are really the markers I'm looking at. I just want to maintain and of course improve my fitness in every aspect as much as I can. And the kettlebell jerk is really one of the most effective movements you can do in that regard. It develops insane power endurance in the lower body, in the triceps, obviously great posture, great flexibility in the spine and shoulder girdle. So it's really high return on investment. And I promise you that if you decide to make it a key part of your training, you're going to see insane carryover to a lot of other things. That's really all I wanted to talk about today. We're entering the last minute here. Fixation is starting to get a little bit sloppy, but man, you should have seen me 2 years ago when I started training the kettlebell jerk. I had never done double kettlebell jerks before, and I could barely get my arms overhead. And now it's much better, but obviously a year from now it's going to be even better. But probably not all of those reps in the last minute are competition legal, but I still have some time to work on fixation until my next competition, I think 6 or 8 weeks from now. All right, one thing I want to announce is I have just released my training program, Double Belt Domination. It's about how you can build really high-level fitness and a great physique just training from home with only 2 kettlebells. Check that out if you're interested. I'm going to put the link in the description box and hope to see you guys soon on the channel. All right, last rep, I believe. Really suffering here and happy that it's over.